Hi there.
Hi, Mr. Manai. How are you, sir?
I'm feeling actually awesome. How about you?
I'm great. I'm great. Oh, thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, that's great. Kajo, how are you?
I'm good, thanks myself. Hello, can you hear me?
Kajo, can you hear us?
Yes.
Hello,
We
can you guys
hear
hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hello,
Okay. No, it's okay. I'm
can you hear
just
me?
going to give it like at least 2 extra minutes, then we are going to begin with the session.
Thank you.
Right. So, is it going to be only the three of us, or is there going to be more people on the live? How is it going to be? Percy?
Elyes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I think Percy just lost connection now. Oh, he's back. Here he is. Okay.
So before we start, yeah, I want to ask, so are participants going to be added here, or is it going to be broadcasted somewhere?
Elyes, you can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I think there was a link that was provided for other people to join. So maybe they're struggling with connectivity or what, I'm not sure. Yeah, but Percy will clarify that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And it's going to be 1 hour 45 minutes, right? Or is it just an optional?
I'm not sure. I'm also a student at Gradient Boost. I think Pace will be the one that will be able to clarify that. I think he lost connection again. I can't see him anymore. Can you see him on your side?
No, I can see him.
You can't see. Okay. Hello, Steven.
Hi, hello.
How are you?
Okay. Apologies about that. My internet was troubling me a little. Thank you for joining us, Stephen, and also Alison. You guys are welcome. So I'm just going to start the session now with the matters of the day, welcoming our guest, Mr. Manai. Mr. Manai, how do you pronounce your name? Your first name?
It's Elyes.
Elyes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So the way we are going to run this session today is that I'm going to first let you introduce yourself. Okay, I'll just talk about the session a bit and Gradient Boost, and I'll let you introduce yourself. Mr. Elyes, then also tell us about machine learning at Google a bit. Then we are going to continue to the topic of the day and close up the meeting with just questions or any other thing that's relevant to this meeting. Are you okay with that setup, Mr. Elyes?
Yeah, just one question. So instead of having the Q&A at the end, is it possible to have the Q&A at the same time as we are discussing the topic?
Of course, yeah, like the rest of anyone who's joining this meeting is allowed to like interfere and talk at any other point in time because we don't have like a lot of audience, so that's possible. Yeah, that would be okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, so just to introduce the Gradient Boost a little, it's more so a upskilling company. It focuses more on digital, online training, but they are trying to mix online training with the importance of having a mentor or having access to the people who created the courses you continue learning in data science. So basically, that's what we are. We offer a different of courses that we have on our platform based on the mentors that we can find and that are willing to create the courses. So our mentors are usually based on people who are like expert or specializes in a certain specific part in data science, and they create a course and then they sort of get students to enroll in their course. So that's us. If you have any other question from there, you can just interrupt me. I will explain further. So it's myself. I'm a technical assistant at data science. We also have a Stephen, who's also an employee at the Gradient Boost. So Katlego and Alison are part of our growing community. So from here, I'll just like you to tell us more about yourself, what you do, and what is data science like to you.
All right. So first of all, thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you everyone here for first inviting me, and also thank you for being there to discuss together. In my case, my name is Elyes Manai, and I am a machine learning consultant working mainly on the auditing and supervision of data science projects. I work mainly with big R&D companies or companies that are overseas and want to integrate the local environment. So I help them. Either I help in the supervision of the projects and specifically in the robustness and audit part, or I try to make events and get to have the company get known more in the community and specialize even in this in data science. I've been in this domain for a bit more than three years, I think, 3.5 years, I think. And I've been in the past in multiple positions, from machine learning, from data science engineer, then into machine learning engineer. Then I did some research engineering, checking all three stages, let's say, of data science, from modeling to research to production. And for now, I've been specializing in education specifically. That is part of what I did like the Gradient Boost when I got the invitations, because I do specialize in education and I love doing education, which can also be seen from its session actually. And that's actually how I got into the Google program. It's the amount of content. So I put a lot of content out there. If you look up my name on Google, you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Medium articles and blogs. And I do love to put some content, specifically the things that we work on or the things that we learn with our work. And that's how I got invited actually to the Google Expert program. It's a community of international technical experts that Google chooses. So you have to be invited into this program, and you have to be creating a lot of content. So kind of the thing that you do here at Gradient Boost, actually. So yeah, I've become a Google developer expert in machine learning for now almost half a year. And I do a lot of, let's say, consultancy in this domain. So I've done a bit of that, this and that. And finally, I'm also more on the actual industry side. I actually on the business side too. I'm not only in the technical side. And I do help startups. I mentor startups in the technical side, specifically data science, in local incubators or global incubators like the Google Startup Accelerator and other ones across Africa. So this is a bit what I do, what I did. It's been a long time since I've been invited to a session, so I forgot about the usual introduction that I had to get some information from here and there. So I do hope that I give you a good idea of what I do. And what's the other question you asked me, Percy?
Oh no, I think you did cover it. It was more so about your involvement with machine learning and at Google.
Yeah. So about that, yeah, just about that, because we are told not to create any confusion. So with Google, I am part of many of the programs, but I'm not an employee at Google. So this is something I have to say. So I'm part of the Google Startup Accelerator. I'm part of the Google Developer Experts Program, and I'm part of the Google Active Experts because of my certifications. But I'm not an employee in Google.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's clear with me. So yeah, I'm just thank you for this. I'm just going to continue introducing the topic of the day, and then we will take it there. So it revolves more around machine learning, the concept of machine learning, the application of machine learning, and also the limits of machine learning. I'm going to give out an example. So since my introduction to data sciences, I started practicing data sciences last year, January. So I'm basically 1 year, 8 months. Also, since I have joined the Gradient Boost, I have been meeting a lot of new people who are introduced to data sciences. They have to choose projects to work on, and we usually have a case where it's usually hard to choose between a case in which you can use the machine learning, and some cases where how I think about it, I sometimes feel like it's kind of like impossible to make that kind of prediction, because it's more so based on the future than the historic numbers that you might have. So I would like this conversation to be more so about the philosophy within machine learning. What can you do with machine learning, and what can you not do with machine learning? So throughout the topic, I would like us to use some few examples of problem statements, and talk about that problem statement, whether it will be okay for you to apply machine learning on that problem statement, or is it basically impossible to apply machine learning in that kind of a problem statement? Is everyone clear with that topic, or should I try to explain it further?
No, it's fairly clear, and you do raise a great point, actually. So I don't know if you want to finish up on details of, or if you want me to start argumenting.
It's okay. We can continue talking now, and then I'll introduce some of the problem statements that I have as we continue. So you can, raise your argument.
Right. So yeah, the reason why I do love this question is that we tend to see machine learning or artificial intelligence as a solution to problems, whatever the problem is. However, when you get to work with machine learning and you get to see the actual data and the actual process, and all the magic sort of kind of wears off and you see the actual thing you do, you realize that you're not actually solving problems, you're solving data problems. So you can only solve data problems with machine learning. You can do much more. So the question here becomes, can we solve a problem through data or not? And you gave a good example, saying that sometimes you need to have good features and sometimes not, and sometimes historical data does not help us. And that's true, because if you have data that is not relevant, even the most powerful machine learning methods will not help you solve the problem, because the data that the machine learning algorithm is learning, is modeling, is not the right data. So of course, it will not learn how to solve the problem. It will just learn to model the data. It's as if I gave you animal data and told you to make me a plant disease classifier. It will become good at the animal data set because it's a data, but that will not solve the problem. And a more practical example that is still to this day being taught wrong is stock price prediction. So for stock price prediction, they say it's a simple time series problem. Well, all you need to have is the data, the historical data or the historical prices of stocks, and we should be able to model the future. But that's not true, because those individual points across time, they are not features. They in themselves are results from other features. Things like political influence, things like social media marketing, things like new products, like vacation, those are the real features. And from those features, the price of the stock is a result. We can't just take the results, stack them together and say these are features, because they in themselves do not have any modeling power. They also rely on other things. If you don't have the initial other things, the features, it will not be able to do anything. And so that's why stock prediction, for example, is one of those subjects that where machine learning does not work. And to the untrained eye, it seems like a perfectly sane example to try on, but then they will never get any good results because of this problem that we are talking about. So in that case, machine learning will not help us at all. But we may go to other examples which are like better. So I would say, if the let's not even go to machine learning, is it possible or not? We can just say, do we actually need machine learning to do this, for example? So there are some cases where, to be honest, we don't need machine learning. It's a method, okay, but we don't really need machine learning, because conventional methods called algorithms, normal plain algorithms that we learn to do, are enough to get good results. So we don't need to go through all the pain of machine learning just to get the 1% increase in the performance. So this is my initial argument. So let's see where we can go with this.
Oh, and thank you very much for me. I actually had that as one of the the cases in which I wanted us to discuss. So I actually went on and grouped crypto coins, stock markets, and as well as forex under one category, because at some point with us here at the Gradient Boost, with the cohorts that we ran before, we also had a particular group of students who wanted to use a data that they were able to scrape from a certain website that was based on stock markets. So they were trying to predict the future price of certain companies. I think Apple was one of them. I don't remember exactly, but that's what they were trying to do. And from if you are new on machine learning and then you see that you have numbers, like numbers are on your side, you can scrape all the numerical, or even if it's actually numerical data that is related to your topic, and you can actually train a machine learning algorithm and make some predictions of some sort. And I personally had some philosophical confusion with events like that. I felt like what they were actually trying to do is to predict the future, because you defined it actually quite clear now when you are using when you are mentioning the fact that those numbers are not what actually happened, but are a reflection of an event that happened in the real world. So yeah, I mean, that's exactly why I wanted to talk, to have this kind of a discussion. I mean, I was hoping that we can maybe reach a point where people get to like use logic to sort of conclude on the type of a problem that they had.
Exactly, yeah. That's exactly it. That's exactly the why we do these kind of sessions like we are doing right now. So to let the people that are hearing us right now get faster to the state of intermediate or senior level by not having to do the mistakes that we had to do. So that's actually the reason why we are doing this, right?
Most definitely. So I'm just going to also introduce another problem that is also related to a case like this. Actually, this one I heard about it because they said that it was a competition on Zindi from South Africa, my home country. So they say that the traffic department introduced a competition on Zindi about the road accidents. And the problem statement was that the participants must use the data that was given to create an algorithm that is going to inform the EMS, the emergency workers, where to like maybe participate the accident or where to concentrate themselves so that they can sort of try to time the accident correctly. And I sat there and thought about the problem statement and what those people were actually doing. And I was thinking to myself that you guys would argue with me if I'm wrong. So I thought about that case. It was also on Zindi and people actually competed on it. And in my mind, I was thinking that what they are actually doing is to train a machine learning algorithm that is going to point them to an area that is more likely to have an accident. That is so because you find out that if you look at if you just represent maybe the accident hotspots on the map, just using some good visualization, you can find the spots where you are most likely to have an accident. And that might be because maybe the roads have a lot of potholes, maybe the roads are too thin, or some other effect. So I thought that with that case, they had a simple case that can be solved using simple visualization. You can just use Tableau to use to represent that data on the map, and then from there you are going to be able to circle the hotspot areas and concentrate the emergency personnel that you have on those particular areas. But then they had to go and try to solve a machine learning algorithm, wasting time and as well as money to build something like that. So from my point of view, what was happening there was that as those guys were building whatever that they were building there, what was actually happening was that they were trying to predict those hotspots that you can simply get from a visualization, because that's what is going to happen. And you can't also predict the future. That means if you are able to build a machine learning algorithm that can sort of say that at this point in time, an accident will happen at this place, and that would mean you have the powers to sort of predict the future.
Well, that's the whole goal of predictive modeling, right? Predicting the future.
Yeah, that's true. So with the case that I just presented and also my analysis about it, this goes to all of you guys, as well as Mr. Manai, do you think that machine learning in that case could be useful?
In this case, I can't tell you because it does depend on the actual data that they got, the features that they got. But I do agree with you on the fact that they could get the result with a way easier way, which is just plain data visualization. But I think in the case of the Zindi competition, it was just a simple competition it's a fun competition for people to try out to test out their skills. And maybe because of, I don't know, some government wanted to get into the transformation with AI, but for real purposes, sometimes we really don't need that. And I will give you an example. Some years ago, and I'm struggling to find the name of the city, I think it was Singapore. They had a problem with the amount of criminal activity that they had in the city. And I'm talking about like theft, robbery, kidnapping, etc. So what they did was that they got all the data, data from the police stations, like the time of the happening, which street, what happened, etc. And what they did was they just created a map that shows you at each day of the week, each hour of the day, which streets become dangerous and which don't, and which have like problems, like let's say lighting problems, and which are vastly populated with people and which are empty. And by just putting out this data visual or this map, let's say this interactive map out there, they managed to reduce the crime rate by up to, I think, 30%, meaning that just by having the data and visualizing them in a comprehensive way without going too technical, like simple map, they managed to reduce 30% of the total crimes of a city, which is not small. It's a big thing, especially in use cases like public security. And this is just one example of how we can get to the result that you want with easier and more efficient methods. Then, for the other cases, it becomes a term of, can we really get better, or is it necessary, or is it, let's see, is it really to solve a problem, or are we just using machine learning to say that we are using machine learning? That's where it actually goes.
Definitely, that's exactly the kind of problems that people should be aware about, and that's actually what I'm on about. So they actually went on and figured out that what we need to do here is just to represent the data correctly, instead of trying to predict where people will be and doing what at a certain point in time. That is quite awesome.
Oh yeah, it's actually very impressive, actually, how they got to do something like that. But yeah, that's one use case of many where we can change people's lives with that.
That's quite awesome. So from yourself and your experience, just asking this from a different angle, do you have any other way, any philosophy that you use to sort of determine whether you think the case that you have requires machine learning, or you can just maybe analyze it and do some EDA?
So the question is, how do I determine if what I have to do, if a project at hand should use machine learning or not, right?
Yes.
All right. So in that case, how do I determine? Well, it's actually very case by case, and what I do for that is I actually have to read the state of the art. So if I have, for example, let's take an example that I've seen not much, like not recently. We had a project where we had to work on something similar to social media, and there was a lot of pictures in the social media. And one problem we had was to combat fake news. So people could take a picture, post it today, saying that in this street we have a problem, and then fast forward a month, some other person would use the same picture and say there's another problem in another street, and it's fake news because they're using an improper picture. And to fight this, we thought a lot about how we can do that. For example, we could take the line would be the picture, the content, the something like, I don't know, something representative of the picture, and try to add some text to it, etc., and try to model as a machine learning problem. But then I just did a small research on state of the art on how do they do to determine if two pictures are similar or not. And one simple solution that we found was something called image hashing. So you could hash an image, meaning that you create a simple string from an image that would encompass all the characteristics within the picture in a small string. Meaning that what we can do is we can save the strings, generate the hashes generated by each picture posted on social media. And when someday someone else posts something that when hashed will get the same hash as one in the database, well, we will know that it's a duplicate and that we should not allow it to be posted. Now, this at its most basic level did not need machine learning because we can do it with simple algorithms. It's way faster, it's better. But then when we wanted to go into more complex things, for example, an update. For example, someone posted the same picture, but they didn't say today. No, they said a month ago this happened, which is true. It's not fake. In that case, we needed to get something like a bit like something stronger. Like we needed to somehow understand the meaning of the post in itself to understand that this was linked to that. And that's why we needed machine learning. That's where we needed the actual hash of the picture. We needed the post, the content of the post. We needed something to guide the time. And then we can start making something with machine learning. But at the base of it, the simple detection of a picture, of if a picture is similar to another, could be done with a simple hashing algorithm. And not only that, even if you were to tell me to make something that is not duplicate, for example, two sides or two angles of the same place, how would you know that's the same place? With machine learning, that will be too difficult because with machine learning, you have to give a lot of examples of the same place at many angles, and you can't do that for all places on Earth. It's impossible. So in that case, we just went with the different way of hashing, which encompasses more the color palette, encompasses more the objects in the picture, so that when two pictures which are at different angles but are picturing the same thing will have the same color palette, will have the same objects, and will have some timestamp or something in the picture itself that will help us know if it's at the same place or not. In this case, also, it wasn't machine learning, it was simple hashing, and we used a simple heuristic or simple algorithm to do that. Is it performant? Not that much, because you can always get angles that are tricky, which change the background, etc. But it was still better than nothing, and still better than wasting months collecting data and doing machine learning, and just to find that, for example, one of the places we trained on changed colors, for example. So we had to redo it from scratch. So that's the thing. I try to see if there's something done that we can use, and if not, can we use machine learning to make it even better? And this is one use case of where this happened.
Oh, that is actually an interesting case from my side. I find it particularly interesting because we also had some cases like that in South Africa where the media was perforating an incident that was taking place using some audios, some videos that were not even related to what was happening. The recent case was the one on, I'm very shy to talk about this on the world stages because I find it very, not okay. As Katero I assume you're from South Africa, Katero may testify with me. They had a case of xenophobic attack, which was bad, I admit. But then the problem with the whole cases as they were spreading across the world was that there were videos, a lot of videos that were not even from South Africa. They were not even recent. They were old, that people were using to perforate that incident that was taking place. So that really makes me understand where that case was coming from and why was it important. My question from that, how did you guys deploy the whole project, if you were able to get to that part?
For this project, the one on social media?
Yeah.
Well, we put everything on the server side because there were also a number of other machine learning models we were using. And so what we could not put all the models on the phone because that would make the app too big. So we just went for a simple server side verification. So everything was on a server, all the backend of the server, and we made an API for the upload. But at the same time, the project stopped there, but we want to go even further afterwards and check with the monitoring of how many APIs were called, and from those APIs, how many issues we had. We wanted to get the most frequently needed, let's say, model to then become converted into a TF Lite model, meaning that it can work on mobile, and then we would put it directly on the mobile so that the user does not have to upload something and then wait until all the verification has been done off on the backend to then receive notification that it did not work. We wanted to do it on the phone at the same time so that they don't need to wait until they can become connected again to see if it's rateable or not. So we need to be at real time, so that if someone was trying to take a picture, like for example, like Instagram stories or Messenger stories, in those cases, you take the picture from within the app. And so what we wanted to do is something similar, not the actual taking the picture thing, but verifying everything at that time, so that if something is happening and you need to take, you could not take many pictures, or you did not have the reflex to take many pictures, you can get it verified at the same time, so that you know that you need to take another picture, a different one, or you need to change something at that time, so that you don't finally lose that picture, lose the post, or lose the opportunity to be the first to talk about it.
Oh, nice. That's quite interesting. It might also help improve the accuracy of online news. It would help people to know what can be trusted and what cannot be trusted on the internet as a whole. That's quite good. I'm just going to give Katero Stephen Mankut any chance if you guys want to add to the conversation.
Hello, PC.
Katero?
Hello. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk. It's quite an interesting conversation. I'm really enjoying it so far, right? So yes, I like what Elyes is talking about. One point that I want to talk about is that one of stock prediction, when he said stock prediction, it's not necessary for us to solve that problem using machine learning. So I just want to know, since because what I've realized now, that with many people right there that like to enter into data science, they like to do those competitions that already have been done. So I just want to know, according to Elyes, how can that problem be solved? It means there is nothing that we can do, to because hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear
Oh,
you.
you can hear me. Yes, I just want to know how was that problem supposed to be solved? Because to me, when it comes to stocks, forex, and what you call cryptocurrency, specifically forex, there is fundamental analysis and there is also technical analysis. So for me, sometimes I find it weird for people to say, "Oh no, we can solve. We can predict a price of a currency using machine learning." So sometimes it doesn't make sense to me because fundamental analysis are also involved when it comes to forex. So my question to Elyes is that question that you were raising regarding stock prediction, how it can be solved. So it means there is nothing that we can do in terms of machine learning to solve that problem. I'm not sure whether you understand my question.
Yeah, I do understand. And of course, there are ways to do that. I'm just saying that the approach that many take, which is just getting data and pushing them to machine learning or deep learning algorithms, is not the right one. Since you are into Forex and into stock market, so you already know that there are some type of, let's say, forms that they are looking for. Like, I don't know the names, but I've seen some people do that. Like, they make shapes. There are shapes in the actual data, and they say, if it's this shape, then you should do this. If it's that shape, you should do that, right?
Definitely, yes.
So what a better approach, for example, would be to instead make a classifier of what shape is our data right now. And that would get better results than just blindly giving data, because machine learning is trying to learn patterns, right? And if you don't give it any feedback, it will try to learn any pattern that can match the data, even if it's nonsense. So without any supervision, with just the raw data and the labels, it will try to come up with anything that can work. And that anything could be an irregular shape or something that's very difficult or very rare. And so it will do the job, but it will not be actually effective. However, the shapes that actual analysts are using, actual investors are using right now, are backed by years of studies and backed by real statistical analysis. So what could be done instead is to get those shapes and train a model to determine those shapes. So if we are following the stock price of a certain, the price fluctuations of a certain stock, we could have like a classifier get the last, let's say, 200 values or 300 values, depending on the biggest shape, minimum values needed. Like, I don't know how many it is, let's say 200. And if the 200 last values create a certain shape in the graph, then we can just go and apply what should have been done in that. So if we had a book that introduced 30 shapes, and it says, if it's shape 1, then you should sell a stock. If it's shape 2, you should buy a stock. And then, of course, more difficult ones, I'm not an expert, I have no idea what can be done. Then you can just map that. The machine learning will do the shape identification so that humans do not have to do it. And then we have a dictionary of actions to do depending on the shape. So that would be a way to approach the stock market problem with more, let's say, science back, that would give us better results. And of course, there could be more. I'm just not a subject matter expert, so I'm just saying this from what I'm seeing right now.
Okay, yes. Thank you very much. It makes sense. Yeah, thank you very much for clarifying that. And then in the last question that I had, I think it was yesterday, I went to Zindi, and then there was this other competition that I saw. It was a gender-based violence tweet classification. So I just want to know, with regards to gender, because to me, when I saw it, I was like, no, man, this can be a machine learning problem, because you'll never know what's going to happen, especially when it comes to this thing of gender-based violence. So I just want to know, according to you, do you think a gender-based violence can be classified as a machine learning problem. It can be solved using machine learning.
It's
Thank you.
gender-based what?
Gender-based violence.
Oh, what kind
Yes.
of data are we talking about?
Oh, you don't know? Oh, I saw it yesterday. I didn't even go through it. So I was like, no, maybe I'll give it, I'll have a look at it, because the competition was gender-based violence tweet classification. I don't know whether you guys saw it, Percy, on Zendi. You haven't seen it?
Without
Percy?
without the data, I have no idea what they're trying to do. But
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. So basically, what they want to predict here is to predict whether. Let me just check here. I think I still have the link here. So it was a classification problem basically. Hello.
Mhm.
Hello. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, I'm
Oh
looking
yes. Oh, it was a classification problem. So I think here they are trying to predict whether a child or a woman will be abused. So when I looked at it without reading it, I was like, I don't understand why, we have some challenges like this. Is it really something that we can, machine learning can be used? Can it be really used to solve such a problem? So yeah, it was a classification problem, predicting whether a woman will be abused the next day or not. It's something like that. So to me, I didn't see it as a problem that can be solved using machine. The problem is that I didn't go through the data. I'm sorry for that. I didn't have a look at the data. So I was like, no, I'll have a look at it tomorrow. Yeah. And then take it from there. But I just want to know, according to you, gender-based violence, right? Is it a machine learning problem, or you want to know what do we want to predict?
Okay. So the thing is, machine learning does not care about the actual use case. Machine learning only cares about the data it gets, meaning that we see it as gender-based violence, for example, or whatever, and we think of all the things that we know about that topic.
Guys, my internet.
Oh, no problem. So we think about everything about that topic. However, the model is only seeing the data you gave it about that topic. It does not know anything else. And so it doesn't know about ethics, doesn't know about other things that we think about. All it has is some data, and it has an objective to meet, classification or regression. In that case, since it does not care about the data, it all revolves around the quality of the data. Is what we have actually useful for the use case or not? So gender-based violence, I just took a look, for example, online now. There's, for example, gender-based violence detection for tweet classification. So we have tweets, and tweets are text, and text are words with meanings. So maybe there's a pattern of people trying to convey a message, but not directly, so that others don't know that they are being abused. For example, there's a pattern in some word or something that's being said, so that may actually be effective. Then, for example, if you work on gender-based, and then all you give me is locations of play of people and, like, say, number of criminal activity that happened in the last week, that's not enough. That's not actually good, because a location can have many houses. So just because I have a location and a number, that does not help me know what's, like, if there's going to be violence or not. So that's what I'm trying to say. The machine learning does not care about the use case. It cares about the data, and it works on the data. For it, all it has is feature 1, 2, 3, 4, Y. It has no idea what feature 1, 2, 3, 4, or Y is. All it knows is I got to get an equation that goes from the features to the Y. Afterwards, where it's going to be used, that's not my problem. That's the human problem. So going back to you, it can be effective if we get the right data. But at the same time, how many are actually trying to get the right data? Or how, like, there's a lot of people that just give you random data and tell you, hey, do this. But as data scientists, no, you can't do that because it's not good data, it's bad data. And it's not, we don't even have to go to gender-based or social science, which are actually difficult to convey. We can even go to normal software engineering with companies that have data, which are web-based projects, for example. They have data, but then when they import the data scientist and they tell him to do something, the data scientist tells them, your data is worthless for the use case. I need new data. And the software company will say, no, we have data, this is the data. And you have to argue with them. Okay, it's good data for your use case, it's not for my use case. So it doesn't have to be that complicated. All we have to know is it doesn't care. We need the right data. If it's the right data, maybe sometimes it's coincidence. We can, by coincidence, get a good model, but at the same time, we can try our best and get nothing. And a very good example, I will finish my point with this, is in Japan, they actually made a model that can classify types of bread, and they discovered that that same model can identify cancer cells, which is something very, very like very funny, because at hindsight you say, what's the common point that like bread is something and cancer cells are something else? But in the end, the model has a data, and it turned out that these two use cases, their data share common points. And so one was good in another one. And this is what we also call transferable transferable domain transfer. Yeah, that's what we call also domain transfer. So we transfer some knowledge on one data set to another data set, which is used in another domain of the use case. So yeah, I hope I managed to answer the question.
Oh yes, you managed to answer it, but you managed to answer it. As I was looking at it now at that competition, yes, they're speaking about what you spoke about, whereby you are saying it's all about having the right data. Yes, because as I was reading here, they were saying the main purpose of this challenge was to create a machine learning algorithm that classified tweets about gender-based violence into 5 categories. So they mentioned all those categories there. So it's all about data. Yes, it makes sense. You answered my question.
Perfect. Awesome.
Thank you.
So do you have any questions from the audience? I don't know if Percy is not here. Let's see.
Hi. Yeah, Elyes, thank you so much. I really don't have any question. In all fairness, I think it's been quite explanatory. You've been quite explanatory about the scenarios. I'm sorry, I didn't come prepared the questions, but so far it's been an engaging conversation for me. And yeah, I mean, we can always do this some other time, but with the larger community as well, because I feel there'll be a lot more intimate and engaging conversations and thought-provoking questions by then. But I think for me, this has been quite educative. And thank you for your questions, Ramantosi. Sorry, I didn't pronounce that correctly. Or Kalitho, yeah.
Awesome.
All right, so yeah, Mangut, do you have anything? Because Mangut, sorry, so sorry, Mangut.
Yeah, good
Sunday.
evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for joining the call late.
No problem.
Yeah, I personally learned a lot from just the question Kadli who asked, and I'm hoping to leverage on the recording because I can see that the call is being recorded. So thanks, Elyes, for availing yourself and for dishing out knowledge. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, yeah, thanks. Elyes, do you have final words or?
Yeah, I do have a final. So I'm guessing that you have students that will watch this in the future for the recording, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So in that case, I just want to send a message to the people that will watch this in recording, and specifically the people that are not really new to this, because yeah, we can say that new to this, not in a I just started data science way, but even if you come from another background and you have subject matter expertise in finance and geometry and physics and whatever, and then you transition to data science, etc. The one thing that you need to know is that in industry specifically, you will have to use the most efficient way, not the most innovative way. So in the research, we have to find out new things, how to do this better. But in industry, we have deadlines and you need to meet those deadlines and you have to be critical of the results. And so one thing that one should take into consideration always is that one, getting more data is better than tweaking your model, because in the end, if your data, even if big in number, is not enough to represent the problem, it will not be helpful. So the model just tries to, the machine learning tries to model the data. If the data is bad, of course, the model is bad. If the data is good, the model is good, even if it's just small data. So please focus a lot on the data and also try to get a feel of the data, meaning that don't just go for more and more data, because you might not know that you are getting more of the same data. So if you imagine all the data of a use case as a square, and you try to collect a lot of data, maybe the data that you collected is just the upper left part of the square, so just one part of the whole data set. And then you try to get more data, and without knowing, you are also collecting upper left data. So it's the same data. You have more of the same data, and so your model will not get that much better in real life. You need to get more diverse data to get better results. So that's one thing. The second thing is that I want you to think of machine learning systems as a sequence of objects, sequence of systems. Like a solution, a machine learning solution can have a mix of machine learning and non-machine learning. You don't need to have it end to end, meaning that everything from the input to the output gets through a machine learning model. You don't need to do that. You can make a system where first the data is transformed, then we can check if the data can be processed using normal means, go for that. If not, then go for machine learning. And in machine learning, you can split into two models. In the middle, you have another check, and you can make an architecture like that allows you to optimize performance, because some use cases may seem and sound simple, but are a real pain to make. In that case, just go for something simple things. So don't get discouraged if your model does not behave right. In the end, it's just there to model your data. If your data, it may be a problem in the data. So work a lot on getting familiar with how to deal with data and collecting data. In the end, all the machine learning models in the world will not be able to help you if you have bad data. Yeah, so that's the thing.
All right, thank you so much once again, Elyes. So thank you everyone for attending. We will now end the session now. We'll be in touch with you. Pressy will be in touch with you, and I personally will be in touch with you as well. Again, thank you so much for your time today. It's really rare and it's a privilege for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me, and good luck, everyone.
Thank you, Elyes.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
you.
You.
Bye, everyone. Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you, Ramu Nutsia. Thank you, Ramu Nutsi, Stephen, and Mangood.
Thank you, Elyes. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.